Hey guys, it's Kristen with christiansdoyoga.com, and today I want to talk to you about your core. So we hear all of this hype about have a strong core, get killer abs, do all of these things. And what I want to talk to you today about is, yes, I'm going to show you some core strengthening exercises, but I want to teach you how to think differently while you're doing these exercises, and also just in some other postures and how to integrate that into the rest of your practice. So when you're ready, we're actually going to get started. Let's go just start in a seated position. All right, so before we get started in our actual exercises, what I want to teach you is 3 separate cues to think about while we practice these exercises. So the first one is to bring your belly button in towards the spine. You'll hear your teacher say this, you'll hear me say this a lot. Just bring the belly button towards the spine. That starts to pull everything in, protects your low back. And then the second thing I want you to think about is squeezing those ribs towards the middle of your body. So everything's kind of going together and then in. The last thing I want you to think about is just lifting the pelvic floor. And so all 3 of these things together gives you a nice engaged core. And this is so important for a few reasons, friends. So as you're kind of practicing these, maybe one at a time, see if you can get to the point where you're doing all 3 at one time. And I want to tell you a couple reasons that this is important. As a yoga teacher, one of the main complaints that I get from my students is wrist pain. And so you think core wrist pain, that doesn't make any sense. But the stronger your core becomes, the more it carries you through some of the stronger parts of your practice, especially down dog, when you're transitioning and things like that. It's going to take the pressure off your wrist because your core is now doing the work. And this translates in a lot of other things, obviously, to feel good and to be strong. In our midsection, that also is something that we want as well. But just the effectiveness of your yoga practice, it's gonna bring some life in that way to your practice. So as you're practicing these things, I want you to just think. Let's go through it together one more time. Knit those ribs together. Draw the belly button towards the spine, and remember, it's a practice, you guys. It takes time. We're training our mind to tell our body what to do. And the last thing is to lift the pelvic floor, and see if you can do all 3 at one time. And the first posture we're going to take is cat-cow. So we're going to start in a tabletop position with our knees just underneath of our hip bones. Fingertips are spread wide with our wrists underneath our elbows, which are underneath our shoulders. So you're a nice long line from shoulder to wrist. And then now we're going to think about all 3 of these cues: belly button, ribs, and pelvic floor. So just take another breath here and just feel the engagement. And then you can even just let go, just kind of let go of the engagement. Notice the difference, right? So let's try it all again. All right, so the first one we're gonna do is slow cat-cow. So cat-cows are practiced a lot just to warm up the spine. They're usually just pretty gentle cat-cows. So you're dropping the belly, looking up, lifting the hips, pressing away for cat. So what I'm gonna do in this practice is I'm actually gonna have you press away from your mat through the fingertips. So you're creating that little pocket right here under your palms, and tuck your chin and go ahead and engage all 3 of those areas that I just taught you for 3 breaths. Good. So go ahead and release. This is just going to stretch out the core. So let the belly just drop. Disengage everything. Good. And then when you're ready, we're going to do that again for 3 breaths. Tuck the chin into the chest. The tailbone faces down. So your back is really round here. Really pressing into those fingertips so our shoulders aren't covering our ears. Keep a nice long neck. 1 more breath. Good. And release and let go. So we're already starting to feel that core turn on just a little bit here. Let's do it one more time and then we'll add on. So go ahead and tuck the chin around the back. Bring the tailbone towards the mat as you squeeze the ribs together, the belly button towards the spine, and the pelvic floor is up. And release. One more cow pose. Yeah, that feels good. So from here, go ahead and bring your engagement back together, and then bring your spine into neutral spine, so you're not hanging here. So from here, we're gonna press into that left hand, so fingertips are really activated here, and reach the right fingertips forward, and the left toes back. So bring your mind awareness to what's happening in your core. Breathe. 2, 3, 4, and lower. Good. Let's do the other side. So press into that right hand, lift the left fingertips forward so the left bicep is just hovering around your ear. Right toes are back and your right toes are pointed towards your mat. So you're really using that heel to press the wall behind you. Engage your core. You now know what that means. And lower. Good. Let's do it one more time on each side for 3 breaths. Here we go. Left toes, right hand. And lower. Good. Reach the left fingertips forward. Right foot is back. And lower. Nice job. Go ahead and come into child's pose just to give your core a break here. Good. So one of the most foundational postures in your yoga practice is going to be plank pose. And so I want you to go ahead and come to an upright position. We're just going to walk those hands out. Again, fingertips spread wide, just like tabletop, except this time, go ahead and engage that core. We're going to walk the left toes back and then the right. So now we're in a plank. Our belly's not hanging and our hips are not lifted because we're using our core to hold us up, and we're also pressing into the pads of those fingers to really stabilize us here. Hear me. You can drop to the knees and shift forward slightly, and you're still gonna feel this engagement. So breathe here for another 2 breaths. Good. Drop to the knees, come back to child's pose. So maybe you're noticing this isn't all in your arms. So a lot of times when we're in plank, we think we're building, and we're building strength in arms, but it's absolutely a core building, core strengthening posture. Good. When you're ready, we're gonna find plank pose for 5 breaths. So making sure those shoulders are in line with the elbows to protect the wrist. And then maybe even, I like to rock forward just a little bit onto my toes, squeeze the thighs together and rotate them in towards each other. Your gaze is forward. A lot of times we like to look underneath of us. There's nothing happening there, so keep your eyes forward. Keep a long neck. Good. And then go ahead and lower all the way down, squeezing your ribs with your elbows. Lower all the way down to your belly. Leave those hands right where they're at. Just let your hips kind of shake side to side. So from here, you guys, we're just gonna press into our hands and come into an up dog or cobra. So leave the thighs on the mat if that's where you're at today. Or go ahead and lift those thighs and just feel the stretch in your abs and your core. One more breath. And back to child's pose. Good. So maybe you're starting to feel a little bit of heat. Maybe you're starting to feel a little bit of shaking in the body. This is good. It means we're building some strength. Good. So let's go through that again, and we're actually I'm gonna teach you how to transition well using your core from up dog or cobra to down dog, because this is one of those postures that your core, it's very, very important that you're engaging your core, again, to protect your wrist, protect your shoulders, and just to have a more effective and efficient practice. So when you're ready, let's find plank pose. Let's set it up again. Knees or not, you're breathing and you're engaged. Belly button to the spine, ribs together, pelvic floor is lifted, and then really engage those quads. And when you're ready, go ahead and lower all the way down, keeping everything engaged. And press back up. So maybe you're just in cobra, or maybe you are in down dog and those thighs are lifted. So from here, you're gonna tuck those toes, and this is where your teacher says, move from up dog to down dog. You're gonna come into a plank first, right? So you're lifting from your up dog. You're lifting the ribs straight up before you come, and then you shift your hips back. So this is really, really, really important, you guys. So watch me, if you wanna just take a break and watch me do this. I'm sure you'll welcome it. So you're going from plank to your chaturanga to your up dog, and watch my ribs. Instead of just shooting straight back, like, shooting my hips straight back, I'm gonna lift the ribs straight up and then shift my hips back, nice and slow. So my wrists are not feeling this at all. You wanna try it one more time? Let's start from down dog this time. Good, inhale forward to plank. Exhale halfway down or all the way, this is up to you. Up dog, flip the feet, lift the thighs. Down dog, lift the ribs straight up. Hips go high, hips go back. Down dog. Good, you guys. All right, take a couple breaths here. I know you're feeling this, I'm feeling this. Okay, on your next inhale, walk those hands back to meet your feet. Just find a forward fold here just for a minute, for a breath. So we're gonna sink our hips down to our heels. We're just gonna find a little toe balance while we're here. It's good not only for our feet, but anytime you're working your balance, this is where I want you to think about your core. And we're not gonna move into a lot of balance postures today because I really wanted to keep today's actual postures focused on the belly and the core, but I just want you to get a little taste for balance. So maybe you stay right here and you think about engaging your belly button towards the spine, the ribs together, and the pelvic floor up. Maybe you bring the hands to the heart and you do the same. Finding that place of wobble, find something to focus on too, just in front of you. It's not moving. Checking through each of your engagements. Maybe for one or two more breaths, you just bring those hands overhead for a full toe balance here. Engage, engage, engage. Beautiful job, you guys. We have one more. Go ahead and set your hips down onto your mat. Just take a breath here. All right, so we're moving into boat pose. This is a very popular yogi ab workout. I'm just gonna briefly show it to you here, and just so that we can practice this engagement while we're in this pose, because a lot of times, especially when I first started practicing, a lot of times I would feel my boat pose and my hip flexors, because my hip flexors were doing the work of my core, but my core wasn't quite strong enough yet to take this pose effectively. So I wanna teach you how you can get there. All right, so both hip bones are on the mat. You can even kind of roll that flesh away here so that your hip bones are really anchored in. I want you to think about a really tall chest here. And then start to lean back so your spine is straight. Your chest is forward, very, very forward. Your chin is up. Those hands come out, palms up. So hear me. You may already be feeling this. If you're engaging everything right now, you're feeling this. You can lift one toe and start to lean back. So as you lean back, here's what wants to happen is we want to round the back. I want you to think about keeping a tall spine. Maybe you lift both toes. Chest is forward, chin is high, core is engaged. One more breath. And lower. Nice job, you guys. So we're gonna do that one more time. When you're ready. Tall chest, palms up, chin up, chest up. Shifting our weight back, but we're still keeping a really tall spine. So you're kind of like opening those shoulders and squeezing them together on the back side of the body. When you're ready, take your version of boat. for 2, 1, and lower. Nice job, you guys. All right, I hope you have a little bit more understanding and confidence about what it means to work from the core. So before we go, I'm gonna have you go ahead and lay down. I'm not gonna let you leave here without stretching out just a little bit. Come all the way to your back. Stretch those legs out all the way. Reach those fingertips really, really, really high and away from your toes. Peel that low back off your mat. It's gonna really feel good on the opening and stretching of the core. Good, reach. Awesome, so go ahead and let your low back come to your mat. Bring those hands out to your side. Taking a few breaths just to soak in everything that you just learned, but also the physical work that you just did. Feel free to go back through and practice those, but in this moment, just enjoy a few minutes of stillness. And of course, I never want to leave you without feeding you some nourishing soul food. So as you're laying here and your body, your heart rate might be coming back down, your breathing is returning back to normal, you're finding a little bit of relaxation. Let me just share a little scripture that is one of my favorite scriptures to think about when I think about the core, even just in my spiritual being, what it means to depend on God and how that brings strength into my life. So Proverbs 3, verse 8, it says, "If you depend on Him, your body and mind will be free from the strain of a sinful life. You'll experience healing and health and will be strengthened at your core." I love this so much. I'm going to read it one more time to you and let it speak to you however it may. If you depend on Him, your body and mind will be free from the strain of a sinful life. You'll experience healing and health and you'll be strengthened at your core. So just maybe leaning into that just a little bit of what it looks like just in the heart space, in our spirit, to be dependent on God, to strengthen our core so that we can live free, we can live healthy and live full lives. Thanks so much for joining me today. All right, friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did and you found it helpful, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. And hey, you spent time working on your physical body today, but something that I find so important is nourishing our souls. And so I've created something for you to just work on every day, just like reading scripture and building your core strength in your physical body. I created a daily soul care checklist. These are things that you can do just to find some nourishment in that way. So you can head over to dailysoulcare.com and grab your free checklist, or you can just click the links below.